AJ Styles, he is heading into the Royal Rumble this week. He's wrestling Gunther, and he's talking about his WWE career being over. Not talking about he's retiring this year. He says this is his last year in pro wrestling, but he's talking about on WWE television saying very specific language that his WWE career could be over. He did shoot an angle on Impact on 2 weeks ago with Frankie Kazarian and Mike Santana. They've been teasing him coming to TNA for a little bit. He wrestled Nakamura over the weekend, and Nakamura kind of spilled the beans in a post and a long letter, kind of a letter to AJ saying that AJ told me that Royal Rumble was his last match and then he's leaving. He then since deleted the post because I don't think he was supposed to say that. AJ also wrestled CM Punk for what is supposed to be the last time on Monday night. I watched the match. Nobody else has to watch the match. I wanted to see it. I'm sorry I did because, of course, it was a schmoz. They can't do anything right in that fucking company. But anyway, so we got Gunther and AJ Styles this coming up weekend. If AJ Styles loses, he leaves the WWE. JD, do you see AJ going anywhere else outside of the WWE system when he's done, if he were to leave this Sunday or this Saturday?
If it's legitimate, if his contract is legitimate up, which is, I don't trust anything that I'm hearing on the internet anymore because I think everyone's trying to work. Everyone's trying to be Brian Pillman, and try to work the system. If he does take a walk from WWE, I imagine he will be on Thursday nights.
Yeah, I think he dabbles a little bit on Thursday for sure. Because they teased an angle with Frankie, and then they teased an angle with Santana, and Santana has been promoting the angle on Twitter. It makes sense. Now, could they have not have that deal done, and then maybe he goes to Wednesday nights? I don't know, but
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. AJ's been a loyal soldier from jump. He was supposed. Remember, AJ and the Good Brothers were supposed to be on the initial episode of Dynamite, and then WWE bent over backwards to make sure those guys did not leave, and instead we got the Inner Circle. Massive downgrade. Now, massive downgrade. Now, at the same time, AJ, I think AJ is smart enough to kind of play the game a little bit, so to say, and to make people think he might show up in AEW. But I mean, realistically, what did we talk about earlier? WWE's idea is to hurt the market share. What can help is by having a recognizable WWE face with a long, because you see a lot of people talking about the long vestige of AJ Styles being part of TNA. It's all over the place now online. Yeah. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that because AJ is coming back to TNA.
Yeah, I think so. And I keep saying that TNA needs to have a marquee star on the show, and they just don't have one right now. They have guys with some name value, but they don't have any marquee stars whatsoever on that show. Nobody that's been that is a super top tier headliner, and AJ Styles I think would fit that bill for sure.
Chad says, here's hoping, JD, don't mention the Good Brothers, man. I will say this. Doc Gallows, for all he is better than Jake Hager.
Yeah. So the Good Brothers phoned it in for a couple years on Impact.
Get out of here. The Good Brothers phoning it in?
I will say I never felt that Doc Gallows was phoning it in because it seemed like he's not the most dynamic worker, but every time he was in the ring, I always felt like he was giving 110%. It always seemed like Carl Anderson he wanted nothing to do with it. And then in fact, whenever New Japan opens back up and they go to New Japan, while they're still under contract to Impact, Carl Anderson was talking about it's finally good to be under the bright lights again where we can really give our best and kind of really shitting all over Impact. And those guys were making $250K each in Impact Wrestling that probably wasn't even generating that much revenue.
And that's why Scott D'Amore no longer works for Impact and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they are guys that Impact needed at a really, really dark time in that company.
For sure.
They got some people that were talking. It's just the fact that, and I love Carl Anderson. When Carl tries, he was really good. The problem with Carl is he just wouldn't try very often. He's he's the equivalent of one of the most those super talented guys who only give you effort when they have to. And it's not like Okada who can kind of phone it in. Sometimes, Okada phoning it in is much different than Carl Anderson phoning it in.
So let's talk about Okada phoning it in. Why would Okada work 20 minutes and give 4.5 stars on Collision? Shouldn't he save that for pay-per-view? Why does he have to go crazy every week? He's a tippy top guy. He should just be kicking people's asses for the most part.
I honestly think because I think that Okada's a professional. I think that the word had gotten back because that was the knock on him for the first year and a half. The contract is that he doesn't try. He doesn't try anymore. And I think that this is honest. I think that there's still a lot of pride, and I think it's a lot of it as a cultural thing. Is like you take a lot of when people call you out for being lazy. It's like one of the worst things you can say to somebody is that you're lazy, and then they're like, "Well, fuck you! I'm gonna show you up." Like, unlike Nakamura, who does not care.
Yeah,
like
you want to see lazy. Watch late '80s, early '90s WCW squash matches.
Woo!
Those guys are doing nothing. Now, I will say, I was watching one. Oh God, I need to. I don't know what year it's from. And JD, you might even know the year off the top of my head. WCW, the WCW YouTube just dropped this yesterday, so I went ahead and I just watched it last night.
What is it?
It's from WCW Power, which I don't have a lot of knowledge of. I did not watch that show back.
I watched the Power Hour. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. WCW Power, not NWA Power, but WCW Power Hour. The main event was Sting, Ric Flair, and Arn Anderson versus Great Muta, Buzz Sawyer, and the Dragon Master.
It would be January of 1990, sir.
Dude, you are a fucking savant. It's like, dude, pro wrestlers used to be over was the first thing I said whenever I shared the video on YouTube. I was like, I'm watching this. There's not that many people there. There maybe 750, maybe 8 or a little over 1,000 in the place they were at. I don't remember where they were at. It wasn't center stage. It was somewhere else.
Marietta.
But probably. And they were so freaking over. The crowd was eating everything up. The heels had heat. Like Buzz Sawyer had heat. Muta had heat. Dragon Master, not so much. But
he was there to eat the falls.
Yeah. But Sting, Flair, and Arn Anderson were just so freaking over. And we had 2 really great announcers. So I was like, and I put this on Twitter. Said pro wrestlers used to be over and announcers used to be great. And who was doing the announcing? Jim Ross and Jim Cornette, 2 of the greatest to ever freaking do it. And that match was so awesome. Like they didn't have a storyline, they didn't have nothing. It was just
no, homie. They had a massive storyline going into that.
They were about to go into
the Clash.
The Clash in a cage, right? That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. So they're building. No, see, okay, don't do this to me. They were building. Yeah, they were building. This has been going on for 6 months at the time. Sting, this was like the superpower. This Flair Sting team was the equivalent of the Mega Powers in WCW, right? Because Sting, like when Flair turns babyface after the Terry Funk injury, right, in May of 1989, then you get Flair as the top babyface and Sting as the number 2 babyface, and coming up right behind him, Terry Funk is the top heel, and Great Muta, who's on his freaking excursion, gets so massively over with the Sting feud over the TV title. Right, so don't tell me like lower card titles can't draw. Sting versus Muta for the TV title was fucking hot. NWA TV in 1990, because then you lead into the Halloween Havoc cage match, right, where Sting and Flair team on a pay-per-view for the first time against Flair and against Muta and Funk in most ridiculous. It was great on paper. It did not execute great. And then you have it leads into the tournament that sets up, because we're setting up this whole thing, sets up the final appearance of Flair. They leave. This is a final appearance of Muta when they leave. And now you're building into Sting officially becoming a horseman, right? And it's after that clash, right, that Sting is told he has to give up the title shot that he wins in Starrcade Future Shock to Flair. And that's when they turn on Sting and where Sting blows the PCL. So you're talking massive storylines, massive implications. And Funk's already gone at this point. Funk lost the New York Knockout retirement match, the I Quit match. So, I mean, there's a story. Like, this is a massive part of what's driving. This is why it was over, because the booking was so good. They weren't drawing shit in 1989. They started to draw in 1990 because the TV was so damn good with Flair on top as a babyface.
I don't mean to interrupt. You're on a roll. Who was booking in 1990? Was it Flair?
At this point, it was Flair. Flair's on his way out. Ole's coming back. Oh,
okay. I keep muting myself. Go ahead.
No, I said Flair's booking in 89. Flair's the booker. They have a committee, but Flair's the top of the committee. Flair and Cornette were and Ross were the big power players at the time. So this is like in the end of that, and this is when Hurd hires Ole. So we're right in that sweet spot, right in between Flair leaving and Ole coming in.
So Chad says, JD remembers 1990 WCW Power. I can't remember my mom's birthday.
Brother, I had a conversation with a colleague today, first period, and I looked at him and I said, I forgot what I was going to say. Yet I can remember what was going on at WCW Power Hour in January of 1990.
Yeah, somebody was making fun of me because I'll do the Impact reviews immediately after Impact, and like 10 minutes in, I already forgot what happened on the show.
Because it's not consequential.
Well, and now I'm starting. Well, and I fill my head with so much. God damn. I fill my head with so much different information that it's hard for me to retain anything new. But I could tell you what happened in 2001, like no problem. Like if you guys want to have a discussion about 1997 WWF, the greatest fucking year in wrestling history, I can talk about it. But what happened like 10 minutes ago, I have no clue. Speaking of, so everybody go ahead and watch that match. That was great.
So good.
Yeah, but dude, so heated.